Hey, everybody, this is TJR,
And this is Robert Kinsler.
and some interesting news today that I read on your blog, Robert.
Yeah, pretty big news actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
Abba is back.
shall we? Well, go ahead, please. Yes.
Yeah, so and I think we both talked about this a little bit. I'd say both of us are kind of what we'd say fans of Abba singles, but not, super huge or super knowledgeable about the group, right?
Yes. I remember hearing ABBA's hits on the radio when they hit back in the 70s. I remember hearing Dancing Queen when it first hit on the radio. The Winner Takes It All, songs that
Right.
I've enjoyed since I first heard them, but I've never been more than a greatest hits fan. And
Yeah.
I assume the same, and it's the same for you, correct?
Right, exactly. I think that they craft super great pop songs. I will say, in full disclosure, my mother was a huge ABBA fan. So
Mhm.
when she passed away, as I was cleaning out her house and all that stuff, I did come across this. I don't know if you can see it. I know we have the screen thing here. There
Yeah.
we go. But it's called ABBA, Thank You for the Music. It's a four CD box set.
Uh-huh.
And many times when I was driving back and forth, I have to say, gain a greater appreciation just
Mhm.
great tuneful songs.
Mhm.
They have a signature sound, and they obviously did that very well to score so many great hits that have endured. Before today's announcement that they're going to have a new album, it's been
40
nearly
years.
40 years since they've done new music.
Yeah.
So it's pretty incredible, you
Yeah,
know.
to think that they've been gone out of the line. Well, I don't want to say out of the limelight, just that they've been gone for 40 years and their popularity really hasn't waned all that much when you consider that there's been a Broadway musical, there's been a motion picture based on the Broadway musical. Their popularity really hasn't waned. I would say, even though I'm not a hardcore fan, just a greatest hits fan, that their popularity has grown to a certain extent.
Yeah. And I think it's true. And today I did watch after the announcement, and they released several advanced tracks that we'll talk about
Uh-huh.
in a minute. There was an hour special where they interviewed Benny and Bjorn on YouTube, and they talked about about the career and about what led to them getting back together and all that. And they both said that they're more surprised than anyone how their music has endured. They never would have
Yeah.
thought, it would be that this long after they stopped playing that their music would be so popular. And they both mentioned too that when they when they went on hiatus in 1982 for about 10 years, nothing was really happening for them, and then all of a sudden there was kind of this reemergence and rediscovery of
Uh-huh.
their music, and then it's only grown over the last 30 years after that.
So there's a new album coming out.
Right,
And of
and it's
course, you
called
wrote about this in
Voyage.
your blog.
Right, and I do go into the details. It's called Voyage, and that's going to be coming out November 5th of this year, 2021, on Capitol Records. And today, we were treated to two advanced tracks from the upcoming album, and I was pretty impressed, I have to say, with both of the two songs that kind of had their premiere today too. I thought they definitely lived up to the ABBA sound, and I thought they really delivered on that. Great vocals, very catchy melodies, and sounds like they could have another hit on their hands.
The two songs are I Still Have Faith in You and Don't Shut Me Down,
Right.
got released. I listened to them today as well. And in particular, I once again, not being, like I said, a hardcore fan, I guess what struck me about these two tracks is, first of all, just how youthful the vocals sounded, I thought. Um, the song I Still Have Faith in You, I it felt like I was listening to a song from a musical that hasn't been produced.
Hmm.
It just has that kind of feel to it. Like it's very theatrical, very big. I've only heard these two songs about twice. So I don't really want to say too much about them. I'd
Yeah.
like to hear
Yeah.
them a little bit more before I say too much, about them. But definitely, I can tell especially with the one I just mentioned here, I Still Have Faith in You. That one in particular, I think really struck me as having strong potential. I felt that with both recordings, there's nothing there that would disappoint their long-term fans. It definitely feels like it's a continuation of what they've done
Exactly.
previously.
Mhm.
There may be a few nods to modern conventional songwriting in there in the form, but nothing sounds disingenuous in my opinion.
Yeah.
Nothing sounds
It sounds very
disingenuous.
authentic. I think it sounds authentic to what
Yeah,
they've done in the past, and the interview, obviously they're trying to set their, put their best foot forward,
yeah.
but they said they weren't really trying to compete. Like they used the example of Drake. They say they didn't even really fully understand some of the things about contemporary music. They just try to do the best music that, they write songs from the
Mhm.
heart. They try to resonate on things that are important to them, and then they try to have those performed and recorded and mixed and mastered the best that they possibly can be. And I think to that end, I think they've accomplished that. Basically, like I said, like you, I've listened to I Still Have Faith in You and Don't Shut Me Down. I think I've listened to them both about 3 times, and I thought that, I'm very impressed by what I've heard. And I know we also uh, uh, want to share with everyone that this is part of a larger initiative where people will kind of, and I'll put that in quotes here, kind of be able to see ABBA again live, because they're building a
Yes.
special purposed theater in London where, kind of like if people have gone to Las Vegas and maybe seen the Beatles, the Love Show, where, and that's Cirque du Soleil, so there's real performers, but this theater is set up, and the four members of ABBA were screen captured. I don't know if I'm using the right term, but where
Yeah,
they use the screen capture technology.
if I may interject, yeah, they worked with
Yeah,
Lucasfilm, and they all four of the original members did basically motion capture,
right.
but did the
And it
whole
took
motion
5
capture
weeks.
exactly, so the digital versions of them could be created to perform. And I first heard this from you and your blog page, and when I first was like hearing you talk about this, my initial reaction was not really positive.
Hmm.
My initial reaction was like, "Oh, this sounds fraught with trouble." I that's just how I thought. I just thought, no, this sounds all wrong. But then I watched the video that you mentioned, and it's a combination of older footage of them in the '70s,
Hmm.
along with the digital footage. And while I could tell it wasn't real, it was still pretty darn good.
Yeah.
And I would
It's
say a pretty darn good illusion and not unpleasant to look at,
right. Right.
even though I could tell it wasn't real.
Like, I'm trying to think of, when they first started having some of that technology, and I thought Peter Jackson did it great as far as with the Lord of the Rings movies,
Yeah,
but there'd be some times in films you would see it, and it looked kind of like almost like cartoonish or something.
Uncanny
But
Valley. Yeah,
but it's gotten better and better, and this, like they said, they went into it. They really seemingly have done a good job, and apparently, what they're going to do between the audio that you're going to get, it's going to be a state of this, art sound system, and then also the immersion of with the lights. They said it's going to be pretty much of an immersive experience where it should overcome maybe a little bit of the challenges to trying to make it completely real.
uh-huh.
But it'll be interesting to read reviews of it when people see it in London. But based just on the video, I Still Have Faith in You, at the end where you do see some of that
The
technology
digital
used,
versions
it
of them,
looks,
young. Yeah,
yeah, it looks really good.
yeah. I was like I said, it was like I went kind of from this is a bad idea to this is a really fascinating concept.
Yeah.
The way they thought this out, that it's if I read it right, it's almost kind of like I would compare it to like how Disneyland rides all tell a story.
Hmm.
You always hear the Imagineer saying there's got to be a story. It can't just be a ride. There has to be a story that we have for it. And it does feel like there's the way they described it, like there's a story to this, like as if their selves from the past have moved into the present day,
Yeah.
have time
Yeah.
traveled in the present day. So there's like I said, a certain concept to this. And I guess this is a way, because I'm not sure how old they are in real life. I haven't bothered to Google it or Wikipedia it and see how old they are in real life. But this is a unique way for a group to perform their new album and yet not have to at the same time.
Yeah.
They've recorded these vocals in the present.
Right.
These avatars are digitally created. A question I have, I'm not 100% sure, is the band going to be live, or is the band pre-recorded?
That I don't know. My understanding is they perform with a 10-member band, and I don't know if I recall offhand if the band's going to be a live band there, or if it's going to be, if they also have the avatars. I just don't know. I guess we'll find out soon.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a live band.
Yeah, it
may and I think the reason why. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that makes sense to try to fully kind of give you the live experience, to have the live band. That would make sense, TJ. That would make a lot of sense.
I think the reason why I felt so against this idea when I first heard of it is I think about, like, there were some earlier attempts at this. I know there was like an Elvis concert where they took older footage of Elvis performing, like his last, like in the 70s, and then had a live band playing along with it. It just struck me as kind of like more like a novelty thing.
Yeah.
There was also a series of performances where you had a holographic Tupac Shakur performing, and that just seemed to me like, okay, that seems like a novelty more than anything else. And I think that's what I initially didn't like about this. It felt like a novelty, but then when I watched the digital performance on the video, and I just thought, and I heard about the whole concept with the special theater and everything, I thought, this could actually work.
Yeah.
This could actually work. I find myself feeling surprisingly optimistic about it. I'm not, and like I said, I'm just a greatest hits fan, but I find myself intrigued by the way, maybe it's just the whole presentation of the way they've talked about it. I find myself more intrigued and positive about it than negative about it.
Yeah.
So it's I'm surprised to hear myself actually react this way.
Let me rewind a little bit. I remember when I was very young, I went and saw one of the early productions of that Broadway show when it went on tour, Beatlemania.
Yeah.
And the very beginning of the show had the Fab Four performing kind of behind a screen.
Yeah.
So you could see them, but they were kind of shrouded a little bit. And so the idea behind that, and I thought it worked pretty well, was, well, it could kind of be the Beatles. You can't fully see them, but you saw the Beatle boots, you saw the suits, you saw the Rickenbacker guitars and so on, so they kind of set you up, and then, they have the background graphics and stuff. And I think like what I heard today is, it's so close, and then you're going to hear their sound's going to be probably the best you've ever heard Abba. And then you're going to see these lights, and then you'll have the energy of the band. And I think that I'm sure that they've put a lot of thought into trying to make it a special production, so that, especially if they're building a purpose theater just for this, I don't think they're thinking this is going to just run a month or two. They're obviously trying to make sure that this is a lasting thing. And my understanding is from the interview is that they perform like 22 songs in the show. So they do perform the 2 songs off the new album we've talked about, but then obviously Waterloo and some of their other big hits as well.
I wonder, will the greatest hits just use the audio of them performing on those studio recordings, or will their current selves that recorded the new album also sing these the greatest hits as well? Their present day selves record.
I think they're probably going to use the classic recordings, but they're going to be, their current selves with this new technology are going to be lip syncing to those recordings. That's the impression I got from the interview. So you're going to be, the new songs were recorded, I guess, in 2018 or 19 or 20. The other songs were obviously recorded in the 70s or early 80s. So you are going to be seeing their avatars perform those songs. Although, like I said, we haven't seen anything beyond these few frames we've talked about. But this is kind of the future is now kind of thing. We're seeing, people I think are very excited that Abba's back, but then also they're going to be treated to these next advances in technology, because like we've always said, a lot of our favorite bands, they won't be around forever. So future generations, if they want to see, members of, Abba or whatever group it might be, this might be a way to keep those artists alive, so to speak, in a live theater setting.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. The future is rife with possibilities, but this is the first time where I have felt positive about this sort of thing versus negative.
Yeah.
And I saw Beatlemania back in the day too. And of course, it was the first, I guess you could say, tribute show.
Yeah.
I remember seeing Beatlemania, going and see it at like in Los Angeles. And yeah, you had the whole presentation with the musicians, actors portraying the Beatles, actually playing the songs for real,
right,
singing them for real, but also having the visuals, the various, movie and still image visuals and light show and everything to create this sort of fantasy, concert.
Yeah.
And of course, like they said, it's not the Beatles, but an incredible simulation.
Exactly.
Because it was doubtful we'd ever see them get back together again.
Yeah.
And
once John obviously was killed, that was never going to happen again. But yeah, and I often think of that. I go, people that might be against this, think about it. What happens if Beethoven hadn't written down his music and other pianists today were not performing it? You wouldn't. I mean, sure, you might be able to hear an album, but it's so great that other great musicians have kept the works of other composers, songwriters, artists alive. And this whole
prior to
all these tribute acts. Now, I used to be like, God, I don't want to see it. But now as the real bands are no longer performing, or maybe they're not at the top of their game, some of these other bands are really good. The tribute bands that I've seen, they're very good.
And maybe there will be some way to, I guess, beyond just simply showing concert performances, in high definition in a theater,
Right.
There might be ways to give younger audiences an idea of what these artists were like. And who knows? Beyond just, like I said, showing concert footage.
Exactly. It's very interesting. But getting back to our original reason we wanted to get together, it'll be very interesting to me to see how well the new album does when it's released in November. And the timing's pretty ingenious too. It's coming out in November, and apparently they even have a Christmas song that they wrote. So who knows? Maybe they can even have a holiday hit on their hands. Who knows?
Yeah. Very wise thinking on their part.
Right.
To have a holiday song, and very wise thinking. Okay. Interesting. So anyways, though, everybody, if you're an Abba fan, we certainly want to know what you think. But also, if you're not, we still want to know what you think of this whole unique way of not only releasing the album, but this presentation, this theatrical presentation, in lieu of a reunion concert, which is what you would expect, a reunion concert tour. And it's true. You reach a point where you get older, where it's very hard to tour physically, very hard to tour. And I can see where this would be appealing, to the original members. Say, let's just do this instead, and let's just create a theatrical experience versus the rigors of touring. So tell us what you think of this. If you're a fan, if you're not a fan, what are your thoughts? I find myself surprisingly not being against it, which normally I would be. So I'm kind of even shocked by my own reaction to it. At any rate, tell us what y'all think. Leave a comment. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens. How well does this new album chart? Do they get some hits out of it? And how is this live experience reviewed? And we're certainly not going to be able to see it because we're here in the US. And but it'll be interesting to see what the reaction is. And anyways, though, everybody, thank you for watching. Please, do the YouTube things, comment, share, like, subscribe, all that stuff. Please check out Robert's blog. I'll leave a link, and let us know your thoughts. And Robert, good talking to you. And we'll talk about more stuff soon.
Okay, sounds good.
Take care. Bye-bye.